You lead me to paradise.
Hey, what is up, y'all? It's your girl Danielle, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Danielle. I'm a personal development coach. I'm an author and a speaker, and I help women reduce stress and anxiety in their lives so that they can take better care of themselves. Y'all, we are in Feminine February, and I am super excited to be talking to you all about feminine energy. Now, I know we don't like that F word. Some of y'all may have even clicked off already, but that's all right. That's all right. Femininity is not about thinking about who you are not, but simply figuring out how you can use feminine energy to work for you, okay? Because feminine energy is just your ability to create, your ability to be connected to the world around you, connected to your own body, your own divinity, and it is your ability to receive. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We are in for a very good video today. We are going to be talking about how to create ease in your life. One thing that I realized about stress and anxiety is that the reason why so many of us have stress and anxiety is because we live a life at an unhealthy pace. We're always moving, we're always doing something really fast. We always feel the need to be on the go. Sometimes we feel guilty for resting. And these are the things that cause us to cause ourselves stress and anxiety. You all know I'm big on mental and emotional strategies to help us create a sense of ease and peace in our own life. Now, y'all, I'm still getting over a cold. So I'm over here sniffling because it's just the cold does not want to seem to go away. It is holding on for dear life. But anyways, we gonna keep on pushing forward. So like I said, feminine energy, when you think about it, sometimes when women think about feminine energy, they think about all the things that they're not. I'm not girly. I don't wear pink. I don't like girly things. I am assertive. I, like to do things. And baby, that's fine. Okay. What I'm talking about this month is how we can use feminine energy to our advantage and how cultivating and reclaiming our feminine identity helps us to create ease in our life so that life becomes easier, not harder. I remember a little while ago, I had this revelation. I follow a couple of femininity coaches, so they helped kind of develop this revelation, but it's not about doing more. It's about becoming more. It's about doing less and becoming more. And so when I began to realize that I was in control of who I wanted to be, I was in control of my environment, I was in control of a lot of things in my life, I realized that I was doing so many things in an effort to continue to keep up this semblance or this facade of control, right? And that was causing stress and anxiety in my life. And so today I want to teach us, I like to call these little lessons, but I want to teach us how to create ease in our life, or what some people call live a softer life. Now, baby, I'm not all about pink. I'm not all about, go and mbaya in the woods. Now, those are things that I do, okay? I love to hug a tree. I love to go dance by the water, but I'm going to focus very heavily on our thoughts. I focus very, very heavily on what goes on internally and how that affects our behavior, how that affects the results that we get in our lives, and how that affects how we express ourselves, right? So the very first thing that I want to remind us about is that we have to manage our expectations of ourselves. We are not superhuman. We are not superwoman. As much as we are able to handle, baby, we don't need to handle everything, okay? Like I said in the beginning, many of us live our lives at such an unhealthy pace, and we are driven by this need to prove ourselves. And sometimes even live up to these unrealistic expectations that we place on ourselves and even place on other people, right? So it's not just about managing expectations of ourselves and knowing that we cannot do it all. We have to manage our expectations of other people, right? Sometimes we expect for people to do things that they have literally shown us that they do not have the capacity to do. And when we place this pressure on people, that's not grounded in reality. It creates this internal pressure within us that now makes us irritable, that now makes us short, and feeling like we have to go off and do it on ourselves. Well, I can't depend on anybody. And that sometimes that's not the truth. You can't depend on that one person. And so it's important to decide where in your life somebody is going to be, right? Everybody doesn't deserve to be in your top 8. Now, I'm telling my age, but back in MySpace days, let me tell y'all something. Most of the little kiddies right now could never be a 90s, early 2000s kid, okay? Because your top 8 on MySpace were your ride or dies, okay? And it better be your boo, maybe some family members, but the rest of them are friends. And it was too easy to be taken down off that top 8, okay? And so just as quickly as you might have moved somebody down off of your top 8 on your MySpace page, baby, you better be ready to remove some people from your top 8 in your life, okay? And again, I always preface this by saying, I'm not saying to remove people from your life. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is to strategically decide who you can rely on and for what. Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses, but when you realize that people are just people and that they can only live up to their own expectations of themselves, and you ground your idea of them in reality based on what it is that you see them doing instead of what you feel like they should be doing, you relieve this internal pressure. You no longer live in delusion or in denial of who somebody is. Instead, you accept them for who they are. And the same thing goes for yourself, right? Instead of living in denial about yourself and denying something that is true about yourself, perhaps ask yourself, why do I do this thing? Do I actually have the capacity to do this? Am I good at this? Is this something that actually brings me joy? Is this something I want to do? And then manage your expectations of yourself from that place of basic understanding of who you are. I know we say being Delulu is a Salulu, and that is true when it comes to manifesting certain things into your life. However, when it comes to understanding yourself and other people and relieving internal pressure and mental and emotional strain, you have to have a basic understanding of what you really are and what somebody really is capable of doing. So make sure you ground yourself in reality. And last thing, stop trying to impress these folk. Stop trying to live up to unrealistic expectations and trying to prove yourself and prove your worth and your value by simply doing more. Baby, people are only going to see you through the lens in which they see themselves. Okay? And sometimes you shining bright is going to turn off some other people, and other people are going to love it. Some people are going to see you working hard and they will still never value you simply because they don't value themselves or they just don't value you. Some people aren't going to like you. Some people aren't going to be impressed by you. Some people are going to want to see you win. Some people aren't going to want to see you win. Do not live your life based on what you want other people to view you as, right? Live your life based on who you see yourself as. And so we have to really begin to correct how we see ourselves, what we identify as, and really become true to who we are and live authentically. Once you have a better understanding of who you are and you're like, okay, I understand that there are things that I can and cannot control. I understand that, there are things that I want to be able to do that I may not have the capacity to do. Now it's like, okay, how can I better support myself without causing stress and anxiety? So in order to create ease in your life, you also need to create and develop a routine that prioritizes peace and really focuses on mindfulness, right? When it comes to creating ease in your life, it's less about, and sorry if y'all hear a plane, but it's less about eliminating things out of your life sometimes and really just doing things that fortify and nurture you so that when things do come about, they do not bring you excess stress and anxiety. So I want you to imagine it like this. Imagine that you have a situation that is stressful but the night before you didn't get any sleep, you didn't eat very well the next day, you woke up and didn't have your coffee, you haven't spent any time with God or whoever your higher power is, you haven't had any water, how are you more likely to respond to that situation? You're more likely to be irritable. You're more likely to have a negative response. You're more likely to react to that stressor in a negative way, or in an unhealthy or unhelpful way, because you did not prepare yourself. Now, imagine you have this stressor and you did sleep well, you did eat well, you did have your coffee, you have spent time in prayer and meditation. You've literally prepared yourself for your day, or to positively react to a stressor in a way that is going to be helpful to the situation. You're more likely to react in a way that's going to be helpful because you have already prepared yourself. That's what I mean by creating ease in your life. It's like, how can I fortify and nurture myself in a way that when stress does come about, that I don't overreact, that I have the capacity to handle things that need to be handled, that I do have the capacity to see and think and react out of logic and clarity, instead of reacting out of emotions that are typically probably residual from just my body being in basic need. Right? So a routine like this looks like prioritizing rest. I'm telling you, I am good to take a nap. All right. Sometimes coffee just don't do it for me. Okay. Sometimes it just doesn't do it for me. Sometimes a Red Bull doesn't do it. Sometimes I really just need to rest. Right. Meditation, spending time in meditation. Some people say it's hard for me to shut my brain off. You don't need to shut your brain off. One, meditation is a practice, so it's something that you have to learn and do over time. But there are 5-minute meditations that you can find on YouTube. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of meditations on this here YouTube channel that you can just put your headphones on. They are timed. One of them is like 9 minutes. The other one is maybe like 10 or something like that. Short, sweet, to the point. Put your headphones on, lay down, and just do it. You can literally do it anywhere. Meditation is less about quieting your mind and more about just grounding yourself in reality and in the present moment. And then again, it allows you to think clearly. It allows you to see clearly. It allows your body an opportunity to relax. So even if you're thinking about, okay, when I'm done with this, I got to do the dishes. When I'm done with this, okay, I need to write down the grocery list and I need to go and get my daughter. Like, your mind is going to begin to slow down enough so that you can see through the fog and receive more clarity about what actually needs to happen. So spending time in meditation, prioritizing your self-care, whether that's working out, making sure that you're taking your vitamins, making sure that you are doing things that, again, prepare your physical, mental, and emotional well-being, so that whenever things do come up in life, you are able to react in a way that is positive, that comes from your cup being full. And ladies, invest in yourself, okay? Get your nails in, get you some nice press-ons, get your nice little wig, get you some makeup, spend time on yourself in the morning, spend time, feeling good in your body, looking good. That really does make a difference. As y'all can see, I'm playing with my look a little bit. I have my beautiful rack of clothes over here that you realize are very dark. And it's mostly because, we just came out of winter time and earthy tones look really good on me. But because I know that I want to have a brighter, younger appearance, I'm working on investing in clothes that fit me better. I'm also working on losing some weight because your girl is very inflamed in the face and in the body, but we working on it. And I'm working on getting lighter clothes so that I can just feel better about myself, so that I can really shine the way that I want to shine. And we'll talk about getting your essence back another time. Also, make sure that you're making time to spend time in prayer, right? And in meditation, like I mentioned before, or even spending time in worship. Whatever you need to do in order to connect to your higher power, make sure you do that. And then the last thing is spending time journaling. These are all just things that you can do to kind of prepare your heart, your soul, your mind, and your spirit for the day. You can do these during the morning routine. You can do these in the afternoon. You can do these spread throughout the day. These can be things that you just do when you are feeling more stressed out than usual. It doesn't matter. Okay? What matters is that they should be something about what I said should be a part of your daily routine, monthly routine, weekly routine, some type of routine, honey, because you do in fact have to prepare yourself. And creating ease in your life is not just about a one and done wham bam thank you ma'am. Creating ease in your life is about, again, the consistent practices that you have over time that prepare you to deal with the stresses of life. Now, life is going to always be life. Like I said before, stress is going to come and stress is going to go, okay? Now, stress should come and go, okay? Stress should not be the way that you live your life, okay? So it's important to allow yourself to have to take the weight off of your shoulders and to let your hair down, let loose, and not take yourself so seriously. I realized that for a lot of my life, I took myself very, very seriously. I was always overly critical of myself because I had overly critical parents. I didn't allow myself to laugh. I lost this childlike optimism because of trauma. And I realized that I was stressing myself out, that I was causing myself anxiety because of my thoughts, okay? And so I had to learn to change my perspective so that I wasn't beating myself up all the time. So anytime a relationship would end, I would blame myself. Anytime I did or said something that I might not have meant to say in that way, I was overly critical of myself. I was always apologizing, and I lived a life where I just felt bad about myself all the time. I used to pick myself apart. And so my friends will tell you anytime they start to say something negative about themselves, I'll be like, don't you talk about my friend like that. Don't you ever talk about my sister like that, because I know what it feels like to tear ourselves down. I know what it looks like to do that over time and for it to be normalized. And I'm not saying to not look at yourself objectively and see what you can and cannot change, what you should and should not change. But I'm saying to not take it so seriously. Give yourself grace. Your flaws deserve to be accepted. And there are some things that you're going to be able to change. And baby, there's other things that you're not even going to want to change. But it's important to change your perspective on those things and to not look at them as something bad, but perhaps a area that you need to learn to love, or an area of your life that just needs improvement, instead of looking at it as like a character flaw or a personality flaw. And also change your perspective on loss. Sometimes trauma causes us to look at life through what I like to call like a really small lens. And we can only see things through that lens, right? And so one thing that I know I have had to learn to do in order to change my perspective is to train my mind to see the good in things. And this is something I'm still working on, right? Cuz trauma, the perspective that your mind has after trauma doesn't just up and leave. But I've learned to train myself to not consistently blame myself whenever something doesn't go the way that I want, that I expected for it to go. I have trained myself to not pick myself apart, not pick the other person apart, but simply be grateful for the experience and to understand that it was a lesson. And I know that that sounds very cliche, but it's honestly the truth. And a part of creating ease in your life really, again, is taking your mind off of trying to be so analytical and really just learning to let go and let God and say, you know, whatever is for me is for me. And again, it goes back to not taking yourself so seriously, thinking that you have to do everything. You have to make everything happen. And everything that doesn't happen is your fault. And you are what you attract and blah, blah, blah. You know, those things may or may not be true, but what you gonna do now? Continuously beat yourself up? Or are you gonna look back and look at the things that you can learn about yourself, about the situation, and then apply it moving forward? And so all of that looks like, you know, I spoke just now about learning to like let go and realizing that everything is not your fault. Sometimes we feel like or hold ourselves to these standards that cause us to take ourselves so seriously because we feel like we have more control than we actually do. And there are going to be some things that we do have control of. We have control over a lot of things. But when it comes to our experiences in life with other people or with circumstances, you know, that involve external forces, we don't have control over everything. And sometimes we try to hold on to things and we try to find some type of explanation as to why something went wrong or why something isn't going our way, that it's this false sense of control. And we really have to learn to release that, because again, it's our mind telling us something that's not true, something that's not grounded and rooted in reality. So when you learn to just kind of like okay, when you've learned to not take yourself so seriously, you learn that loss just is a part of life and you just can only learn things. You've learned that, your flaws deserve to be accepted. You've learned that you just don't have as much control as you think you do. Now allow yourself to laugh, right? I remember I used to get very defensive when I would trip or fall or make a mistake, because I had this internal pressure within myself to, impress people or to be right all the time or to prove myself. Now I just laughed. I'd be like, oh, girl, look at me. Oh, I made a mistake. Oh, sometimes I even used to call myself dumb. Now I don't do that. I'm like, girl, I don't know what I was thinking. Girl, my bad. I became comfortable with my mistakes. We have to become comfortable with our mistakes. Creating ease starts in our minds. It starts in our minds. And like I said earlier, and I know I keep repeating myself because this is so important, we have to manage our expectations of ourselves. Do we really expect to be perfect? And if we do, is that realistic? It's not. It's not. Learn to laugh, learn to be goofy, learn to have a good time. And oftentimes the reason why we can't laugh is because we don't feel safe where we are. We don't feel safe around the people that we're around. We don't feel safe in our bodies. We don't feel safe in our environments. And again, this all comes back to trauma. I may have to do a series on how trauma affects our brains and how we see the world, because a lot of this has to do with trauma, right? Or how we were conditioned to see ourselves and see the world. And so when we think about what creates this feeling of unsafety, it's things that stress us out that we are trying to hold on to. So it's like toxic relationships, unhealthy thought and behavior patterns, and things that just feed our insecurities. These are things that we have to learn to let go. We have to identify those things that don't make us feel good, that make us feel uneasy, that make us feel stress and anxiety. And I'll even say, there are some things that should not cause us stress and anxiety, and that's the reason why we're holding on to them. But if we really were to take a look under a microscope, we would see, oh, wait, it may not be supposed to be making me feel stress and anxiety, but it does. And why? Too many of us are walking around in denial and in delulu. Simply because we're not asking ourselves why something stresses us out. And I'm going to tell you why. Because once we understand and identify what stresses us out, and we identify why it stresses us out, now we have the knowledge to make a decision that it may be difficult to make. Because let's say, for instance, you have a boyfriend. You love him. You guys have a good time. But he ain't, you're a little iffy about him sometimes. Deep down in your heart, he's not the one. You know that you don't want to have children with him. You know that you cannot rely on him. You know that even though you guys have a good time in this over here area, you know that in your life you're shifting. When you stop and you take a look at that relationship, you are forced to see it for what it is. You're forced to look at the reality of the situation. And for a lot of people, the truth hurts. The truth is difficult to face, because once you see the truth, the onus is on you. Now you have control of the outcome, and when things go awry or things, happen that you knew were going to happen, now the onus is on you. And it doesn't negate the other person's responsibilities, but if you're the one who knew the knowledge and you're the one who had the wisdom, why didn't you make the decision? Now that onus is on you. And many people would rather not look at it, because then the onus is not on them. So I want to encourage you to take a look at the things that are in your life. What is causing you stress and anxiety? What is preventing you from creating ease in your life? And identify the why. The why is extremely important because sometimes there may be an answer to, dispelling the why, right? Because the why may be because of the way that you view yourself. The why may be because you are the one causing something to cause you stress and anxiety. It may be your perception of that person. It may be your history. Other times, it's just because that person is not good for you. It's just because that environment is not good for you. It's because those people don't really like you for real. So again, identify what's stressing you out, identify why it's stressing you out, and learn to be okay with letting it go. What is meant for you will not bring you a bunch of stress and anxiety. I don't care what anybody says. Even the Bible says trouble don't last always. So if trouble is always lasting and there always seems to be suffering and conflict in your life, then you need to take a look at what's going on in your life. What are you holding on to that you are supposed to be letting go of? Because if you don't let go of the thing that is creating stress and anxiety in your life, you can never accept peace. And I assure you, if it's causing stress and anxiety in your life, the only thing that you're going to be letting go of is stress and anxiety. I mean, it's kind of like that's the point, right? And like I said, those things feed your insecurities. And so they cause you to become this type of person that lives in fear and anxiety and lives in their insecurities. In order to dispel that, in order to let go of those things and those people that, or even to identify those things, because sometimes those things fly under the radar, right? You have to really allow yourself to shine. Okay, you have to allow yourself to dress the way that you want to dress, speak the way that you want to speak, show up the way that you want to show up, be the person that you want to be, because those people who are threatened by that, or those people who don't like to see that about you, will reveal themselves, and they will begin to fall away. Don't be afraid of being too much. Trying to hold yourself back and not be something that not be your true and authentic self causes you stress and anxiety. Because now you have to keep up this facade that's grounded in unrealistic expectations. That's, you're denying yourself being yourself. You're wearing a mask. That's so much stress. How can you possibly create ease in your life when you're not even being yourself? And might I even add, you deserve to be yourself. Like I said, a lot of the reason why many of us do not have ease in our life is because of our own mental and internal pressures and the thought patterns that we implement, that we have within ourselves. And so I end this by saying, do not dim your light. Allow yourself to shine. Surround yourself with people who love you. Take good care of yourself. Practice self-care. Put yourself first. Let go of people, places, and things that do not bring you joy and peace, and prioritize yourself. Prioritize yourself. You're not Superwoman. You are a human being who has needs, wants, and desires. And you have to go after the things that make you happy. Nobody else is responsible for your happiness but you. And until you create a life, until you are intentional about the life that you're creating and you're intentional about being authentic, you'll never create a life of ease. You will constantly be living, trying to be something to everybody else, and you will be burnt out and stressed out, and you will never be satisfied. You deserve to live life satisfied, and it starts in your mind. I love y'all. I pray that this video was helpful. You deserve ease. You deserve to feel loved and welcomed. You deserve to be your big, bold, vibrant self. You deserve to show up how you desire to show up. You deserve to be the woman that God created you to be. And you got to stop hiding, babes. You got to stop hiding. It's time to stop hiding. You are causing your own self stress and anxiety. And so if you want to create ease in your life, Make sure that you are following me. Make sure that you're following me on Instagram at Pretty Brown and Poppin'. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And down below, I want you to comment your favorite tip. Do you how or what are some ways that you can manage your expectations of yourself and others? How can you create a routine that prioritizes your peace and well-being? What are some ways that you cannot take yourself so seriously? What are some things that you may need to let go of that you may be afraid to let go of? And in what ways can you allow yourself to shine? Just answer one of those questions, write down your favorite tip, whatever you want to do. Just comment something down below, baby. Because we are building a community here of women who allow themselves to shine, who live a life of ease, and who most importantly live life satisfied. I love y'all. Have a good day.